Do you want to know how to go around buses on your driving test? On this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that and some really useful tips on how to go around them. So if you want to know that, stay tuned and come with me. One of the main things you've got to think about is your positioning as you approach the bus stop. So you don't want to be too far to the left. So this bus is pulling over now, so I'm going to position myself to the right. This way I can see what's going on around the bus, and also it lets people know that I'm going to go around the bus. Then I'll go around it nice and safely. If I was too far left, I'd be possibly stuck behind the bus. Then I'd have to signal to come out. It's caused me a lot of problems. So the easiest way to do it is just to make sure you see the bus that is coming to a stop, and then position yourself slightly to the right, not crossing the line of the other traffic, but just slightly to the right enough so you can see what's going on around the bus. It also lets other drivers know what you're intending to do. So common mistakes that a lot of learners make is driving a bit too close to the bus and then they get stuck behind it because they don't realize it's about to pull over. So they drive like this, and then now the bus stops. It's a bit late now. Okay, now I'm stuck. I'm gonna have to try a signal to get my way out. You want to avoid this situation. I was just giving you that as an example. If I'd kept my space, if you keep your distance, you can plan ahead and you can see the bus pulling over well ahead, and then that way you don't have to be stuck behind the bus. A common mistake that learners make is thinking that a bus is too far away for them to even think about this. If you see a bus in the distance, you need to start thinking about it from early, because before you know it, you're gonna have to deal with it. So there's this bus here. As I approached it, it was signaling left. I could have gone round it if it was clear, but by the time I approached it, by the time I got close to it, it started signaling right. So there was no point me even thinking about going around it at that stage there. So a good tip is to actually look at the bus stop and see how many people are getting on. So right now I can see lots of people getting on. They're in the queue, so it looks like they're going to take a long time to get on the bus. That will give you some sort of indicator of how long the bus is going to take to move off. So we've got a bus up ahead there, and I don't know if you can see, but it's got both its indicators on, so it's got its hazard lights on, which means it's not going to be moving for now. I don't think. Let's just see what the other traffic's doing. So they're going around them, so I'm just going to check what's coming up ahead, and there's a car coming down in their lane, so I'm not going to go forward because I don't want to block their lane, because they have priority since it's their lane. That's clear. Once that side is clear, I'm going to check my right mirror, and then I'm going to make my move. But I've already positioned myself slightly to the right of the bus, but I'm not over my line on this side. I'm not over the line of the other people coming down the road. I'm still in my own lane, but far to the right, and I'm just waiting for a nice gap. I don't know if you can see there's a green light up ahead there. Once that goes red, that should give me enough time to go around this bus, or if there's a nicer gap. So some people are beeping behind. They're probably really far away, they can't see what's going on, but I'm not going to let that pressure me into going. I'm only going to go when I feel like it's safe, which at the moment it's not, because I don't want to cut anybody up from coming down the road. Okay, so there's a nice gap now and the light's going red, so I'm just going to check my mirror and steer so I'm not too close to the bus, and I'm going to check my left mirror as I go back to the left side again. So don't feel pressured if people beep. Sometimes people can't see, they're really far away, they can't see what's happening right in front of you, and they're just being impatient and they just want to go. So don't just think about going because someone's beeping. You need to use your own judgment and decide whether it's safe or not to go. So under no circumstances should you go because someone's beeping. Just make your own decision and go when it's safe. So I haven't gone past it yet, so I still need to think about going around it when it pulls over at the bus stop if there is space. So planning ahead is really key, is like the key thing here. Looking out for any bus stops that might be in the distance. I'm also keeping my distance from these guys in front of me as well, just so I can see properly ahead and I can make a plan about what to do to go around them. I'm looking also behind me and around me to see who's around me. Are there any motorbikes? Are there any cyclists? Because that will that will change the way I'll go around his bus. And I can see in the distance there's a bus stop on the left there. I'll see if he pulls over. Okay, so he's stopping, but there's no space for that car to go around the bus, so he's waiting. And I'll make sure I wait behind this crossing here. I don't want to block the crossing. Okay, so I'm approaching the bus now. He's still signaling left. I'm going to check my mirror. But okay, he's moved off with the left signal, which is a bit confusing. Sometimes bus drivers do that, not all of them, but because I was really hoping that he would signal right to let me know, not to go around him. I couldn't have gone around him anyway because there was a car coming down the road. But if there was space, I could have tried to go around him if he had his left signal on, which is a bit confusing. But hopefully in the next one he's not going to do that. And there's another bus stop, and I can see people putting their hand out to stop the bus, so he is going to stop. But this time I've got a lot of space, so I don't need to worry about the oncoming vehicle too much, because he's got his own lane and I've got a separate lane on the right here. So I'm just going to go around him, and then that one's done. There's a bus in the distance there. I can see it's still signaling left, and now it's signaling right. Sometimes other people go past the bus, but you don't want to do that. Even if other drivers are going past it, you need to do the right thing. If you can stop for it, or if you can slow down to let him come out, you have to let them come out, even if other drivers are going around them. But these guys were good, they didn't do that, they let him come out, so setting a good example for us. Just follow them, like. Okay. So normally I would have gone back to the left, even though there's a bus lane there, but there's a bus, there's hazards on, so there's no point in going into that lane. I'm just going to stick to this lane. And then the bus in front of me as well is going to be, there's a bus stop right next to there, because I know this area. So I'm not going to go into the left lane, because I know he's going to pull over, possibly. So it doesn't make sense to go into the left lane, then have to change lane straight away again. And then you see there, he does pull over, so it wouldn't have made sense for me to use that lane at that moment there. But once I go past him, I can check my mirrors, make sure he's still stopped, and I can go back into the left. So sometimes you get in a situation where you got two buses next to each other. This can be a bit tricky, because you don't know what's going on around other traffic. But on this one I can actually see around these buses, and I'm going to keep my eye on the second bus as I'm going round as well, making sure that he's still not trying to come out of the bus stop, which he wasn't there. So when you have two buses, sometimes you can't really see what's going on ahead, because both of the buses are taking up so much room, you can't see. So in that situation it might be best to just wait until one of them moves, or if neither of them are moving, then you're going to have to be very cautious and try to come out of there as safely as you can, slowly, making sure that you're keeping an eye on the second bus's signal, making sure that he's still signaling left. Okay, so I'm in the bus lane now, and there's a bus in front, so I'm just going to check my right mirror, check my center mirror. I'm signaling because I'm changing lanes here. Okay, now the bus is moving out. He's got his own lane because he's in the bus lane, so I'm not going to worry about stopping for him. So where the bus has got its own lane and his signal's out and you're in the right lane already, you don't really have to worry too much about letting him come out, unless they are trying to go around an obstacle in their own lane, because sometimes might be a parked car right in front of them, or parked vehicles in front of them. So in that situation, probably best to just let them go anyway. So here, this bus driver, she's signaling right because there's a blocked, there's cars parked in her lane. So I'm just going to give her some space to let her go in. So you see here, I'm just keeping my distance from this bus. I'm trying to see what he's going to do. In the meantime, I'm checking my mirrors for a space on the right in case he pulls over. So he's braking now. So it's most likely he's going to pull over, so I'm going to signal right, and there's a nice gap here. I'm going to take it. And afterwards I'm going to check my mirrors, signal, and check my mirror again as I go back to the left side. So you see there, sometimes buses, they don't signal left, especially when they're on the left lane already. In that situation there, because you started to brake, there was no other reason for him to brake apart from picking up pedestrians, or passengers, sorry. So I knew he was going to stop, so that way check my mirrors and signal and go around him in time without having to actually stop. So just in a meeting situation with his boss, he got there first, so I'm going to let him go. The car's got enough space. There's a bus in front of me here. It's got no signal on, so I'm assuming he's going to stay there. If he wants to come out, he's going to have to let us know by signalling right. So sometimes they'll have no signal on. It's best if they signal left, and then that way you know for certain what they're doing. But sometimes they'll be stationary there without any signal, and still the same thing. So you're looking for a right signal there, and if they signal right in time and you've got time to respond, you should slow down and let them out. Okay, so we've got a bus pulling over here. I'm just going to check my mirror. So this one has got this lane on my right here, so I need to check my mirror first and make sure it's safe. And I'm going to put a signal on as well to let people know that I want to change lanes. I'm waiting for a nice clear gap. There are still cars coming down. After this car here, there's no more cars. So I'm just going to check my mirror again. I'm checking the bus's signals to make sure it's still signaling left, so I can go around him. And I'll go around him like that. And normally I'd go back into the left lane, but because of where I'm going, I need to be in the right lane. So if I was going straight, I'll be in the left lane now, but I'm going to turn right, so I'm just going to stay in this lane. You have a bus stop just before you turn, like this one here. It was coming out anyway, but if you were still signaling left, I would be very careful before I actually go around him, just in case he decides to pull out while I'm turning. So the best thing to do there is to signal nice and early, let them know what you're trying to do, so that they don't pull out and block your turn. Because sometimes what bus drivers will do, they'll drive forward a bit before actually merging with the rest of the traffic. But then if they drive forward, that might be in the bit where you're trying to actually turn into the road. So if that's the case, make sure you put a signal on, a left signal on nice and early, so that the driver can see that. That way, hopefully they're not gonna go forward and prevent you from turning. And definitely make sure you're checking your left mirror before that turn. You do that anyway, but this one is especially important because there could be a bus trying to move forward as you turn. So check your left mirror first and then make the turn. So right now I've got this bus right in front of me. I want to turn, but I can't really see what's around him, so I'm not even going to turn until he moves off. It'd be a bit too risky. So there you go, he's moved off now, and then I can follow him. So sometimes you get in situations where your view is obstructed quite badly, and the way around the bus is not very clear, or it's very narrow. So sometimes in those situations it's best to just wait for a bit, see if the bus moves. If the bus is parked, then you're gonna have to go around it somehow. Just take your time and edge out slowly, making sure it's safe, and then if it is safe, you carry on going round. Okay, so I hope you found that useful, and here are some tips for you to take away. So remember, when you're approaching a bus, start planning really early. Don't leave it until too late to start thinking about going around it. So think about it from far away. And then also, as you approach it, remember your position needs to be slightly to the right, but not over the line, so that you can go around the bus when it's stopping, and also you can see clearly what's going on ahead of you as well. And look out for the bus's signal as well. If it starts signaling left and near a bus stop, that means it's most likely going to be stopping for people. Check for how many passengers are trying to get onto the bus. That'll give you some rough idea of how long the bus is going to stay at the bus stop for. Don't go around the bus if there are oncoming vehicles. Don't cut anybody up. Be patient and wait for a nice clear space, and definitely check your mirrors before you go around, and then when you come back to the other lane again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really hope you found that useful. If you did, like it, comment, and I'll see you in the next video.